Want to welcome you to a brand new channel that I'm just starting now. I've been a YouTuber for several years. First of all, full disclosure, I'm an ordained minister. The YouTube channel that I've had for I think it's 3 years now is Mark 16:15 Ministries, which is my evangelistic ministry. And every week, unless I'm too sick or I have technical difficulties, I post a short sermon there. Which, if you want to hear them, you can hear them. If you don't want to hear them, I'm not going to force you to join there or join here or whatever. This channel has nothing to do with that. Besides being an ordained minister, I'm a former business executive, I'm a former college tutor, and I'm a former high school teacher. I taught a year last year, 24-25 school year. That's a local high school teaching business. Well, to this day, former students and kids who weren't in any of my classes, they see me around town, they've got to stop, they've got to talk to me, they've got to greet me, they've got to give me a fist bump, a high five, a handshake, whatever. I was in a local restaurant because I'm widowed and sometimes I get tired of my own cooking, okay? So I was at a local restaurant and one of my former students, now a high school sophomore, came in. She came over to greet me and talk to me, and just because the friends she was meeting there hadn't shown up yet, she had helped herself to a chair, knowing full well that's fine with me. My food hadn't come anyway, so I didn't have to worry about eating in front of her or anything. And in the course of the conversation, she told me I needed to still be teaching. For a 15, 16-year-old kid, that's pretty wise. I do still need to be teaching. I love teaching, but like I said, I'm 70 years old. I'm diabetic. I'm obese. I have high blood pressure. And what caused me to go back into retirement was I've developed lung problems of some kind that they're still trying to figure out. So, but she said, no, not full-time teaching. I know, you left because you couldn't take the classroom anymore on a full-time basis because of your health. I said, but you're a man of so many interests and so many passions, and you need to be sharing those with people. That's the kind of teaching you need to be doing. And she mentioned YouTube. Well, she mentioned YouTube knowing full well I was already on here with the Ministries channel and would know how to start a channel. And she laid down a challenge. She said, go home, list 4 or 5 things that you're really passionate about. And then look at starting channels for those and teaching people about those. Well, I did. Number 1 on my list, Jesus. Okay, what else were you going to expect from a minister? All right, I'm a preacher first. Have been for over 30 years. Okay, so that came up first. Second of all, family. Well, like I said, I'm widowed. My youngest daughter is 50. My youngest grandson is 22. I have great-grandchildren ranging from elementary school to high school. The kids and grandkids are old enough to start their own channels, and the great-grandkids are young enough I don't want to put them on camera and be responsible for some wackazoid deciding to start stalking them. So there's not going to be a family channel. But number 3, my country. I served 9 years in the Navy. Very proud of that. Sometimes I wish I'd done the other 11 and retired. My brother served 32 years in the Army between regular Army and full-time National Guard. Retired as a command sergeant major. I mean, you know, I come from a family that loves this country. My uncle was career Navy. So I love the country. Well, I do have a new channel coming for that. It has its own intro video, so we won't get into all that here. But the next thing that came up on my list was living. Now, when I say living, I don't mean, and I have lung trouble, but I don't mean my next breath or my next heartbeat. That's immaterial. Here's what I mean by living. You can exist. You can breathe. You can have a heartbeat. You can exist. You can eat 3 meals a day. You can sleep 8 hours a night. You can do all that stuff. You can go to the gym. You know, whatever you're supposed to do. Take the right medications and, you know, whatever. And you're existing. We weren't put on this planet to exist. Life is something that's supposed to be lived. And here's how you live life. You find your passions. Some of my passions, and my former student again brought this up to some degree, because as a teacher, when students weren't quite happy with a grade on something, I would give them the opportunity to raise it by 1 letter grade, 10% of the points, by doing an extra credit assignment. How long the extra credit assignment was depending on what they were, you know, how many points they were trying to raise. There was, you know, some little 10-point nothing, and they were only looking for 1 point. Well, then it was going to be something pretty easy. If it was a 100-point exam and they were, you know, trying to gain 10 points, then they'll put a little more work into it. But it was never, and my classes again were business, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, banking, accounting. Extra credit assignments didn't go in that. She mentioned a friend of hers that wasn't happy with an exam grade one time, came to me, asked for an extra credit assignment, fully expecting to get, you know, some time value of money problems, because it was my financial literacy class, you know, or something about balancing a bank account, or, you know. No. She got, find Salvador Dali's painting. You can find it online. Persistence of Time. And tell me, what in the heck do you think Dali was thinking? And give me your reasons. Another one of her friends later came for an extra credit assignment. Got a line from a Neil Simon play. What do you think the character meant? A classmate came for an extra credit assignment. Listen to the Largo from Dvorak's New World Symphony. How does it affect you emotionally? Another classmate, or an extra credit assignment, I believe, got listening to Victor Borge and Shahanaz Rooney play Liszt's Second Hungarian Rhapsody, which they do as a comedy routine. But I asked, what did you learn about classical music from this? That's the kind of things I did as extra credit assignments because I wanted my students to get exposed to things that could make their lives richer. And I knew that the English teacher would take care of literature and probably to some extent drama, although again, I did give that line from the Neil Simon play. But I wanted my students to see art. I wanted them to hear music. And some of them weren't taking band or choir or music appreciation, and so music teacher didn't get a chance at them. Somebody had to. I wanted them exposed to literature. I wanted them exposed to drama, to dance. And I don't mean just ballet. You know, the dancers that used to appear on some of the old TV variety shows. Oh, I can't even think of the names anymore, but oh man. You know, and even individual dancers like Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. Yeah, yeah. But I wanted them exposed to these things. I wanted them exposed to beauty. I wanted them exposed to truth. I wanted them exposed to self-expression. I wanted them exposed to thinking. You know, I might give them something from a philosopher. I might give them something from whatever. Now, I couldn't do this in my classes. My classes were business. And with the exception of some things that might tie into business somewhat, like some things from philosophy maybe, I couldn't really teach this stuff. Although my financial literacy class was my biggest because it included every freshman in the high school, small school. Uh, the first day of class, they got an exposure to literature. They didn't know it, but they did. They got an exposure to the poem, "O Captain, My Captain." I believe that's Walt Whitman. And the way they did it, simple enough. I told him, I only know a few of you. So, until I get to know your names better, I will probably have to call roll every day. When I call your name, please respond appropriately. There are 3 ways to respond appropriately. When I was in the Navy, it was perfectly acceptable when your name was called at roll call to say, yo. I'll accept that. I will accept here. Or I will accept, present, O Captain, my Captain. Sneaky, huh? But that's me. I'm also passionate about comedy because my parents grew up in the Depression, came of age in the Depression. And humor was what brought their families through the Depression. And humor continued to bring their families through. My dad died of liver cancer in 2003. The last time I saw him alive was about a month before he passed. He couldn't get out of bed on his own. The man that had been the rock that I had looked up to all my life was now weak. It was heartbreaking, but he knew that. Dad was Dad was an eighth grade dropout, but he was no idiot. Okay. And in fact, he did go back and get his GED when he was 50 some years old because he wanted it. And he did so well on the exams, they gave him some college credit for it. So, and he was so proud because at least two of his kids, me and my oldest sister, are college graduates. I tell people my sister graduated from Brigham Young University, magna cum laude. I graduated from the University of Montana. Thank the Lottie. Anyway, he was so proud. But there he was, weakened to the point that he couldn't even get out of bed without help. We knew very well dying of liver cancer and nothing they could do but palliative care. Keep him as comfortable as they could and wait for the inevitable. And he was finding ways to crack jokes about cancer. It was hilarious. He had us in stitches, literally. I mean, just boom, boom, boom. Man had such a quick wit. And I inherited that to some extent, but not to the extent I wish I had, boy, I'll tell you. But because of that humor and comedy are very important to me. I'm very passionate about. We had, when I was teaching at the high school, what we called WIN courses, which were something that was taught over part of lunch hour, basically. And they went for part of a semester anyway. They didn't quite go for the whole thing because it took us, a few weeks to get things rolling. My WIN course in the fall semester was on comedy. I wanted to introduce those kids the same way I had introduced my granddaughter, who tells me to this day, Grandpa, I love the Marx Brothers, I love Abbott and Costello, and it's all your fault. Because she watched the old comedies with me. And she got them. And she loves them to this day. So comedy, humor, it's a very important thing to me. I'm very passionate about it because, well, it says in the book of Proverbs, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Well, where do you get a merry heart? From laughing, from enjoying. Laughter is an expression of joy. And that makes it an expression of enjoying your life, which is what this channel is all about, enjoying your life. My dad, I come back to him again for another reason, was not a musician. Not a lot of musicians in my family. I've got cousins that play everything under the sun and then some. My mother played guitar and accordion. Talk about two diametrically opposed instruments. But Dad was so proud when I picked up Mom's guitar and determined to teach myself to play it. I'm not good. And for several years, because of the blood sugar tests after every meal, I lost my guitar calluses. So I'm trying to get back into that. I'm also trying to get into keyboard, harmonica, recorder, because there's a certain pleasure to life from sometimes making your own music. This is something I had a business essentials class with seventh graders last fall. All four, there were only four in the class, all four were also in band. Of course, I'd tell them, they'd come in because band was right before my class. And they'd come in and I'd say, you guys sounded pretty good today. And they'd say, well, then why does the band teacher look like this level class? Good kids. Funny. Lovable. Okay? But I encouraged them to never give up their instruments, or if they did, trade them for another instrument. But make your own music all the way through life. And I'll tell you, I also love to sing. That doesn't mean I can. It just means I like to. However, the fact that I don't know that I can, if I can, and I don't think so. I don't think much of my singing voice, but the fact that I can't sing doesn't mean that I won't. So if I bust out here on this channel, sorry for torturing your ears, but it's me and I gotta make my own music. It's part of my life, it's part of enjoying my life, and that's, again, what this channel is all about. Enjoying your life, finding those passions, finding the beauty, finding the things that make your life enjoyable, that make your life more than another breath, another heartbeat, another meal, another night's sleep. Now, will I be doing things like reaction videos? No. I watch the reaction videos. I love some of them. Oh dear, Jay and Amber, Rob Squad. Love them. Stacy RPG. Love her, and I have no idea how to pronounce the girl's name. She's all of 17. I believe she said she was Italian. And for one so young, she knows so much. And her responses to music that was popular when I was her age is just precious. These are YouTube channels, I'm sorry. I watch a lot of them. But I'm not going to do what they do. When I present music, it's going to probably be something that I don't think the reaction channels are doing. Something that I think you need to know about. A particular genre, a particular group, a particular whatever. But I'm not going to react to it. I'm going to play it for you. You're going to react to it. I promise. Because if you care about music at all, it's going to get to you. I can't tell you when I'll be putting up videos. It may not be on a regular basis, so hit the subscribe button, and so that you'll know when I do, mash that alert button, or notification button, I guess is what they call it. And then YouTube will rat me out when I put up a video, and you can come see it. And let's get into this journey together. And hopefully you will find some passions that will help you enjoy your life more.